it's almost like one deed deserves another, or if you scratch my back, I scratch your back thing. If you, tell me or put me in this position, then, when I ask you a thing, then you got to be willing to do it. Because you got to remember now, this is what's going to happen throughout their journey. He's going to ask her, not just one time, but another time, to basically put herself in a position to be as a single woman. Now, you have to understand that it could possibly be, and I speak, freely concerning this. I see it as, because he realized that Yahuwah had said that he was going to make him a great nation, is that he realized if I die, then that prophecy will not come to fruition. Right. So I've got to make sure that every situation and every place that I go to, my life is maintained. See, this is where we start looking when fear gets in. Because then you start trying to guess and you try to, say, well, if I do this, this is a possibility. You have to understand, if Yahuwah placed a promise over your life, you ain't going to die as long as you stay right.
That's right.
The only reason you will be basically taken out of here is that you walk out of his will. Therefore, basically, in default and breaking that covenant, so now you can die because you have just did what? You have just aborted your protection. You have just moved the hand of Yahuwah from your life. So once again, we cannot in one breath believe, and then in the next breath, because it seems a little challenging, now start walking in our own I don't want to say intelligence, but in our own power and in our own, what we believe is right. Are you understanding? Yes. You don't want to do that, because when you do that, you find yourself getting in trouble and doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. Right. And like I said, you have to understand what he was asking her to do. He was asking her to basically act as though she was single when she was married to him, because she was part of the promise too. Right. Are you hearing me? Yeah. She was part of the promise too. Now, some would maybe disagree, but because once again, you have to understand, why would he want to preserve his life? Because you got to remember, he realizes that he has been in relationship with Yahuwah, and he knows that this promise is over his life. And so, with that being said, I believe he was trying to preserve his life. All right. Now, here they go. Verse 12. Therefore, it will happen when the Mitzrayim see you that they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you. You hear me? Yes. Now you have to understand, if she's single, that means she's up for grabs to them. Right. Either way, it's one of them situations. If they're going to come after her, they're going to come after her. All right, verse 14. So it was when Abram came into Mitzrayim that the Mitzrayim saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The prince of Pharaoh also saw her and commanded her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's bed. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. But Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh, and in his bed with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Now, once again, we look and Yahuwah steps in, because they still did what he thought they weren't going to do. They took her. He took her into his house, and he was going to basically make her his wife. And so Yahuwah had to step in and basically plague them, so that they would know that what you have in your presence is valuable and is covenant. And if you do this, you're going to get in trouble. Now you have to understand, that meant that they knew the voice of Yahuwah. They knew enough about Yahuwah to know and recognize, okay, wait, there's a problem here. Are you hearing me? Yes. Once again, never ever walk out in your own strength and do things that you think would be better if you have not sought the heart of Yahuwah to know what is the right way. Because you can always, there's a saying that a good deed is not always a right deed. Just because it's a good deed doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And so once again, you got to understand, she was part of the what? Covenant. She was part of that promise. Because how else would he be have a great nation if he didn't have a wife? He had to have someone to be the seed carrier. He had to have his wife to bear the seed. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
So once again, it's about understanding and not just about preserving your life, but preserving the life of those also around you. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
And it is so. All right, let's read 18, 19, 20, chapter 13, 1, 2, and 3.
And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister'? I might have taken her as my wife. Now therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go your way." So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had.
Now, once again, he said, "Why did you not tell me?" Because he thinking that they were going to hurt him. And they were going to kill him. He said, "Why didn't you tell me?" So he had to put them people through all that. He had to plague them. Now, once again, there's a right way to enter into something and there's a wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't seek wisdom to know what is right, we can cause other people harm.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at what's going to happen with this. All right, let's read.
Then Abram went up from Mitzrayim, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Beth-el, to the place where his tent had been, at the beginning between Beth-el and Ai.
Now watch this. Abram was rich in life that they were using silver and gold as what? Currency.
Mm-hmm.
Currency. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So also had that which was silver and gold, which could be used, because when they purchased certain lands and purchased things, that's what they used, silver and gold.
Right.
All right. Let's read 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
To the place of the altar which he had made at first, and there Abram called on the name of Yahuwah. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for the possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdsmen and Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I'll go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I'll go to the left." And it is so.
And it is so. He wanted a quick solution. So you know they were fighting because they had so much. Now you know that's a lot of stuff to have. You on the land, and we're not talking about small, acreage, where you can sit and say, okay, this is about, maybe 30, 40 acres. No, we're talking about land where you had civilization, and you had like, it could be city, a small city, to where they were striving because they had not enough room for the livestock. Now think about the people they had, because they did have people. They had to have people to tend to the herd or to the livestock. Then they had families. So you have to understand, they were almost like shoulder to shoulder, because it was they had that basically it was clashing. And so when you have too much on one place, that means somebody's livestock is not going to be able to get not be able to be fed. Somebody's not going to be able to maintain the health of their livestock. And even, you got to remember, they also had vegetation, so that meant they were growing stuff. So that meant it was like, okay, that's a lot of stuff. So Abram, not being selfish and greedy, he said, look, let there be no strife between you and I. You go ahead on and choose first. And wherever you choose, then I'll go in the opposite direction, so we won't have any issues. Mm-hmm. Are you hearing me? He didn't tell him butcher up all you have. He didn't tell him let go of what you have. He told me, he said, you find a place that you can strive, that you can live, and that you can still strive to advance. He never told him to get rid of what he had now. Mm-hmm. But you got a lot of people that would have said, well, hey, you came with me. You're going to have to downsize. Because you followed along with me. You knew what I had, and then you got to understand, if they're giving birth, that really increases the number of the livestock. Mm-hmm. So now he's not asked to get rid of what he has. He's just asked to separate himself, and he gave him the choice to move first. So he chooses where he wants to live. Now, once again, that's keeping peace or shalom. Because that's just the way to diffuse a situation that could have really gotten ugly. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Let's read.
Excuse me. 4 verses?
6.
Okay. Verse 10 reads, And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahuwah destroyed Sodom and Amorah, like the garden of Yahuwah, like the land of Mizraim, as you go towards Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the valley of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift your eyes now, and look from the place where you are northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see I give to you, and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. And it is so.
And it is so. That's a lot. You cannot number dust. But believe it or not, dust is small particles. But you would be crazy to try to number it. That's why he did it in the manner he did it. Now look at what's going on once again. He gives him this place. Now mind you, Lot is a descendant, but not that descendant. You know how you have family cousins and they on this side, but then you have those family members that come directly from you. And so this is what we're looking at. Now he lifted up his eyes and he saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before Yahuwah destroyed Sodom and Amorah, like the garden of Yahuwah in the land of Mizraim, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the valley of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. So he chose basically the better portion. But even in going to the better portion, it was horrible there. It was really an abomination. It was diabolical, the things that they were doing. So it says, Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain. He dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. So you have to understand, he was like in the city. You know how you have different cities, New York City, you have Atlanta and all those kind of places where you can see, if we just kind of look at what city life is about. It's fast, it's flashy. You have to understand, they were doing some of the same stuff. They had their little lights, their little bars and all that kind of stuff, their little juke joints and little, you know, whole houses and all that kind of stuff. It is what it is. And so these are the things that you know, and then homosexuality, lesbianism, all kind of stuff, sodomy, where they were with animals. So it was really horrible, okay? And it said, but the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against Yahuwah. Now you have to understand, those that come from here, these are the descendants also of Canaan. Now, he is a descendant of Ham. It's not like they didn't know Torah. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
But because they chose to reject it and not buy it. 14 says, and Yahuwah said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift your eyes down and look from the place where you are northward, southward, eastward, and westward. Now you have to understand, all this goes along with what is going to take place in his life. For all the land which you see, I give to you and your descendants forever. He had to first separate from Lot. There are times that you have to separate from people in order for Yahuwah to finish speaking in and upon your life. So that what he said to you will make sense when you have the distractions moved out of the way. Now some might say it wasn't, but Lot was a distraction. Why? Because if you every day got somebody coming and telling you, especially the herdsman, you know your herdsman is fighting down there with Lot's herdsman. They're down there, you know, going at it every day. You cannot really focus and see. And then when you have a lot of stuff that's covering and your view, you will not be able to see what it is that Yahuwah really wants. So once he to see what it was that Yahuwah was going to give to him. Verse 16 says, and I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. You have to understand, it is a lot of us. It is a lot of us. And a lot of times, people think that because they see most of us, or I won't say most of us, but they see us, that this is all of us. This is not all of us. You got people in places that nobody knows about. You got a lot of us that are in places where you may not can get to it, but you have us in all places. Because remember, we were scattered to what? The four extremes. And you cannot, because there are so, when you say four extremes, we're talking about the four directions. So you got us in all places. You got us in small places, large places. You got us in places that I believe people never ever even went and was able to find. I believe there are places that are secluded. I believe there are places that you don't that we've never barked upon. I believe there are places that were never charted. I believe there are places that we are and nobody knows about us, but we're still there. Why? Because I believe that the Torah and the very things of Yahuwah are preserved in those people, and they've lived accordingly and according to the Torah, the instructions of Abba Yahuwah. And they've not been contaminated, and they've not had to deal with these different things. I believe that with my whole heart. I do. Because if we're going to be like the dust, that means you ain't going to just pull us up and find us in all places. Because there's some places that people still have not discovered or even been able to get to.
That's right.
There's an island that they talk about that the people, European people, cannot even get on because they won't let them get on. The moment they see them pulling up, that's anybody, they will kill them. We don't know who them people are. We don't. We don't know who they are. But we do know this, they are alive, and they don't let anybody come on that island that they're on. Now the question is, who are they?
That's right.
But they have made sure they have safeguarded themselves that they ain't let nobody come on that island except their own.
That's right.
So that means they have not had outside intervention, they have not had outside fellowship. But people do know that, and they... Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So once again, when he says the dust, that means a lot of us. Now he says, arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the Terebinth Etzim of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to Yahuwah. So every place he went, he was setting up an altar to give esteem and to offer up to Abba Yahuwah. So that meant every place he went, and anybody that came behind him would see that this was us. You hear me? He left, I don't want to say a marker, but he left an altar there for people to know Yahuwah's people had been here. Chapter 4.
Chapter 14, verse 1. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they made war with Bedar, king of Sedom, Bishai, king of Amorah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zebon, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. All these joined together in the valley of Sidon, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Imim in Shuei Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the desert. And it is so.
And it is so. And these are kings that had gone out, had gotten tired of being under the thumb of an oppressor. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedler Laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations. They made war with Bera, king of Amorah, and Shinab, king of Admah, Shemimber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. Now you have to understand, all these are neighboring kings, and they're also family. They're also family. Now, All these joined together the valley of Siddim, that is the salt sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. They got tired of being under his thumb. They got tired of having to give him taxes. They got tired of having to pay him in order to live. You know how you see in certain movies where, you know, if it's not the cops, it's somebody high up that's going to do what? They basically making the people pay for safety, or they're just making them pay because they're bigger and stronger than they are. Well, that's if you see it in the scriptures or in the writings firsthand. It's like, okay, no, you're going to pay me because you know you can't beat me. And so because you can't defeat me, you're going to pay me. You're going to pay me so you can live. And so they got tired of it, and so they came together to fight. And that year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim in Asherah, Karnaim, the Zizim of Kam, and Emim in Shuah, Kiriathim. Now that's Ham. And so, once again, we're looking at this thing take place, and we're looking at them getting tired. Now, isn't it amazing that all this will start after Lot has gotten there? As soon as Lot get down, and then maybe some years later, they decide, we ain't doing this no more. We ready to rebel. Right when he gets down there and he gets settled in. That's why you got to know before you go and leap. It may look good. The grass may look greener, and it may look really sound, but you better make sure that where you get ready to move, you better make sure that's the place where you're supposed to be.
That's right.
Just because it looks good doesn't mean that's the place you should be. Right. Now, it says, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the desert. Verse 7, then they turned back and came to En-Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Chetzozah. Tamar. Now, once again, look at the battle. Look at everything that's taking place. Why am I saying focus on this? Because you have to understand, once again, Lot chose to go to this place. Now, you have to understand, before you go and do anything, whenever we're getting ready to purchase something or buy something, before we get it, we always do what? We go scout it out. You go check to see what you want to make sure. Okay, let me shoot a crime. Because they can say anything on the internet. But if you go and you listen, you say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to the early part of the day, then I'm going to go at night. If you ever want to see how a community is, how a city is, go out at night. During the daytime, you ain't going to see nothing. No. That song said the freaks come out at night. At night is when you see stuff you would not normally see in the daytime. And so he went, and so he had to have a scout. So he put it out. He liked what he saw, and so that's where he moved. Now you have to understand, once again, we always, before we make any decision and choices, we should always do what? Pray. Say it again?
Pray.
We should always pray. Because once again, you don't know what is about to take place. And if you get it and you go sight unseen or sight seen and say, wow, this is a nice place. It's 8, 9, 10, 11.